Before I put the presentation on screen, the pleasure is all mine. I miss this place a lot. Like, this is my second home, auto home. And I think that it's funny how things work because normally the presentation or the pre-prep for the presentation is mainly the introduction of that. Even though we don't plan, even though we don't set up what we're going to talk, what he just Umberto, right? Just talk what you just said, but everything fits in, blends in perfectly. In order to speak the language of love, in order to speak the language of the heart, words doesn't have any meaning. What really touched our heart, and Jesus was a master on that, it's the image, it's the feeling that you feel when you hear something, when you see something, when you experience something. That's the information that goes deep, that passes your prefrontal cortex, your brain. This is fabulous. But this is not what we're talking about when we talk about the soul. It's our feelings. It's our sentiments. It's how it works. Because believe it or not, we get sick first in our feelings. Then, like a computer, we download the sickness to our body. And the organs that are related to that feeling are the ones that get sick. But why am I talking about feelings? Why am I talking about not speaking with words to touch the heart? It's because Jesus, as the master that he was, he couldn't say things that this gospel according to Spiritism told us 100 years ago. They were not prepared for that. So what was the main form that he used to tell people the truth of the spiritual world? He used parables, right? Because a parable is something that you can read and read and read it again, and it changes. The meaning changes because we change, and every time we change, the meaning of the parable changes. Have you ever heard that you don't bathe in the same river twice? It's just because the water is not there anymore. The water that you bathe in the second time is different. So we are starting with a parable as well. This is told by La Fontaine. They used to tell parables about animals because they're easy quote to understand, but he relates to human nature. He relates to human behavior. And this one was very specific because it was told by a psychologist that is in the afterworld called Hamed. And he analyzes deeply what happens behind the scenes. So let's take a look at it. One day, Jupiter called the animals to appear before him, so that, comparing with each other, each animal recognized the very defect of its own limitation. Thus, Jupiter could correct the imperfections. Nice, right? What is wrong with this scenario? Do you think that we can see our defects, our limitations? Well, guess what? That's why probably we are in the top of the chain of the animals, but we have our animal side. As a matter of fact, it's the third brain that we call reptilian. So, yeah, that didn't work very well. And the animals, one by one, praise themselves, boasted of his qualities, and only report the defects of the others. Ooh, surprise. Only the animals do that, right?
Right.
Okay. The monkey, when asked if he was happy with her appearance, replied, "Of course I am. Head, torso, and limbs have the perfect. Me practically do not have defects, but it's unfortunately that not everyone is so. Bears, for example, what a clumsy creature." Here comes the bear. The bear followed, but did not complain of his physical appearance. On the contrary, even boasted
of his size. He criticized the elephants. Too big ears, insignificant tails, big guys, animals, bland and without beauty. And then, if I'm an elephant, I'm going to show up feeling ashamed of myself, right? Wrong. But the elephant thinks the opposite and finds himself lovely. However, the nature exaggerates to his taste on the fate of the whale. Well, to minimize things, the ant, speaking of the larva, frowns. What smallness, more sad and ugly. And what was the ant but a larva before, right? Because she needs to grow from somewhere or something. So are the men. It is as if they had put 2 saddlebags, chest, a wallet with other people's ills, and back the script with their own evils, so that they are blind to their own faults, but they see clearly the faults of the others. And that's the point that most of us say, okay, that was nice. You start talking about animals and stuff, and now here comes the blame section. No. Nobody that comes here to give a talk wants to blame anybody, even ourselves. What Spiritism does and what we do here is to give you tools to analyze ourselves. And if we're not going in the right track, use those tools as a red flag. If you are showing the same behavior over and over, use as a red flag. Put some flags in your daily routine, and you will see that you can change easily just by paying attention, just by focusing on some aspects of our lives that we don't like to focus that much. And that's why we carry the other's saddlebag in front of us, not ours. Ours stay in the back, as God didn't provide us eyes to look in the back so far. We pretend we don't see it. I'm going to change the microphone to the side a little. Okay. 2 saddlebags. So according to the Gospel, according to the Spiritism, chapter 10, one of the problems of humanity consists in seeing wrongdoing and evil in others before seeing it in ourselves. In order to be able to judge ourselves, it is first necessary to see ourselves intimately reflected, as in a mirror. What do we think if we saw someone doing what we do? First flag. Think about it. If somebody seeing me doing this right now, what would they think? If they don't think good, stop. You can't stop. You can't change. You can't redo it. So, beyond all doubt, pride is what induces us to disguise our faults, both moral and physical, even from ourselves. Normally we look at the mirror, but just this way. As we are not psychics, maybe some of us, but not all, we cannot see with the blind the reflex on the mirror. That's mostly what we do, because when pride comes in, it's like you put a band in front of your eyes, a blind in front of your eyes. That way you will not see what is in front of you. And you know what? Because normally, or we are very condescending with us, we give a lot of permission for us to do a lot of things. Or when you are on a judge mode, we are our worst enemies. So when we point the finger to our nose, we're not cool. It's like mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. You know? That's not the way it is. If you assume that you have a problem, guess what? We are in a planet of proofs. Nobody here, besides Chico Xavier, Kardec, and others, are saints. If we are here, it's because we need to prove something. We need to pass through tests. Otherwise, we won't be in this planet. So, let's get good grades, right? Because if you don't get good grades, what happened? What happened when you don't pass to the test in school? What? You have to go back. And what about in the school life? You have to go back again. Not incarnation. I'm talking about this incarnation. In this incarnation, if you don't pass the test will come back to you again and again and again and again. But as our teacher is very smart and patient, he will give you the same test with a different form. So today, it's an illness that attacks what? I don't know, your head. Tomorrow can be the same illness attacking another organ, or it can be somebody else right on your side that you love so much with the same kind of illness. Because it didn't grade above the average on that test. So you always have a chance to pass to the test again. But in order to do that, you have to think, well, I'm not the best. I don't need to be the best. And understand our need to be accepted by everybody else. This is something that all psychologists and, everybody that studied a little bit about human behavior knows. We had two main fears: not being loved and not being accepted. And we do pretty much everything, and I say everything, to fall into these two categories. Remember when we were young, especially the guys, who were the nice guys or the leaders of our troops or gangs or groups? Mostly the brainless, right? He was big, he was powerful in our heads, and everybody likes him because of that. So being in his gang, being in his group, would be a nice way to be accepted by everybody and socialize. And we went against everything that we learned and we believe to be in his gang or in his group, just because we want to be the cool guys in the town, the cool guys in school. Are we doing the same nowadays in a different way, in a different format? Are we trying to still be the cool guys no matter what? Or sometimes, if we are, that's the flag. I don't need to be the cool guy, the cool girl all the time. I need to be me. Because if I commit a mistake, this is my mistake. It's not yours, not everybody's. I'm not going to put the blame in somebody else when I fail. I fail because of me, not because of anybody else. So this is major for us. It's recognizing, it's going above our ego to recognize that we have some fail. We have some problems that we can attack. So let's do that. Because we never know how many years we have in front of us, but all these years that we do have in front of us are enough for us to get better from today to tomorrow. So that's another creed for every day. Every day you wake up, you say, today I'm going to be better than yesterday. Only today I'm going to be better than yesterday. Keep repeating that every day to yourself and see how your brain find focus and opportunities to do better. It's amazing. So this is nothing but the parable of the mote and the beam in the eye that says, why do you look at the speck of the sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your eye? You're a hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. First of all,
if you don't have what you are charging your brother to give it to you or to have, how can you talk about that? If you don't love yourself, how can you talk about love? If you don't respect yourself, how can you talk about respect? And how can you give that to somebody else? So, when you look at what you have and what you ask, see the difference in between. See what's happening right there. Because we mostly ask too much. And mostly because we don't know what we want. Because if you want to know, most of the professionals that know what they want go to work and do their job in 2, 3, 4, 5 actions. The other ones try 15, 20, 27 and still don't know what they want. It still doesn't work because they don't know what they're looking for. That is an old Spanish saying that say that whoever leaves the home not knowing where to go got there already. If we don't know where we're going, it doesn't mean if you stay inside the house or go out, because you already don't know where you're going. You already don't know what to do. So focus in ourselves and focus in what we want and what we want to give as well. Most people do not listen with intent to understand. They listen with intent to reply. But that doesn't apply to us here because we're spiritists, because we know better, right?